Thank you again to our media family for the opportunity. 2 months ago, let's have to fast on for you. Ile tule I matu ia updates for ya mission on le mana mia on le ala so ni mai le media mo talonga e mai se pu lengo talonga ia mai fleet ia lo tau sinyo ni tupa tu mai tai mai tupa ni pa tai mo le sona fo I ma se so ni wala tu lo officer is ngai o ingen fai on tu fantasia ia la ngona ma modifi on taua partnerships through corporations and collaborations with the media. It's always been a big drive for sports. My facility for I matone le o lava le o nga tono o misali tu le o le media. How can we improve key messaging e moni atu ile auto stala ia papel la yon la usi fia ile ke rope male tu langi me se foi ainga. Pe yo tu ia. But for tonight it's my role here tonight is to provide an update on what has happened since September. Tumsalo le la silfia sa tatu tano le ngata nga luenga feo nga lu fantasia ia ta longa mal media. But onisi fo yo o nga luenga lo nga yo ia ta longa ese mai tono fantalo. Ia me se fo yo malai mo nga sami. And that is the contribution of sport to the wider development of our Samoan people or the environment. Yeah, tumsalo le presentation about lese presentation fa pela fam talatu sei tulo na o sel telenga lava o nor polenga tulang o tatu taimi man nea fifi. Last week I was in Suva with a group of researchers, and tonight I've shared some copies of the interim research findings on the case study on Samoa and Fiji, maximizing the contribution of sport to economic and social development in the case study of Fiji and Samoa. E ni fa mo mo jo na pe on fa short for time you sola il Tato Pacific Games. So I'm talking about the research in terms of what is sport contributing to our young people with disability, to women and young girls, to men and young boys who are not able to access the high level of competition. And that's development at the infancy stage. The early childhood learnings. These are topical issues that were presented to the research group of government officials, USB, international federations in Fiji, after 4 years of work and what's about to come up from the Pacific Games. The full research on the full economic contribution of Pacific Games to every Tāla. The people of Samoa, the government of Samoa invested in hosting 24 countries here in the Pacific Games. That will make specific reading in terms of informing not only our people, the private sector, civil society, NGOs and the general public, but also hopefully inform future hosts of Pacific Games in the Pacific on how to conduct budgeting ahead of hosting major international and global events. I will skim through to the end. You will all have the copy of this presentation, but I remember sharing with the group 2 months ago what were some of the priorities that sport took to the leaders of the 17 countries in the Pacific and the States in 2016. Well, this is an example of where I've traveled on as the voice of sport over the last few years to try and articulate some of those priorities in these platforms. Russia, as I shared, again, this is a summary in sharing with you as in terms of update. What has been the outcome? So in red there, one of the key outcomes that has come across is to be able to address the development of young people in Samoa through education. Never mind the Manu Samoa or Toa Samoa or all our feeling matulanga whapea. what has been approved now in the last two leaders meeting is the sports, physical activity and physical education policy to be embraced by the 17 governments of the region. And if the question was asked why, and then again I go back to my previous literacy in terms of the physical literacy in not pressurizing our young people, but giving them the skills of functional bodily movements so that they understand their bodies, they contribute to their neuron development, and in terms of making decisions when they become adolescents and older people. That's basically all it is. And how does that relate to sports at the echelon or the high performance side of it? Well, I guess it means that better informed students, better informed parents, villages, communities will lessen the burden of expecting results at the younger age. And if you turn that around by doing the development and the literacy investment through our professionals in the country, then you'll be able to reach those desired results in the long term. Ya pe ole tulanga na lea au mai inicio o iunga po fea o iai leo talonga ia I atina e ngā whatau mai na tongo tātou I tulanga ia mese samo nei. Those are some of the stages where we're at. Partnerships, and obviously tonight as the continuity of our partnerships, to have media to be able to come across again as a catalyst to promote good development, general development and our sustainable development goals in Samoa, but through the lenses of sport. And I know we've had the conversation with many of you I tātou whatanuranga over the last 4 years. Well, these are some of the work that are happening behind the scene in terms of policy development. And where to, I guess, sorry. As I said, we're bringing evidence because, as we all know, we have professionals in the room with a vast amount of experience. When we ask for funding for any development projects, evidence is normally the first question that comes up to be brought to funders, whether you're international or local governments or just the region. So the continuity is the cry out for sport to our governments. We're fortunate enough that that has been accepted in many platforms as we speak, for sport to bring evidence, continue to bring evidence and build those multilateral partnerships and continue to contribute to the development of Samoa. The relevancy of research, we've just opened up a number of scholarships through USB for postgraduate students to become part of the research team post 2019 to help inform the rest of the Pacific region on where some of the other contributions are not measured. So those can be highlighted. And where can those be highlighted? Media. And that's where I think we can create more partnerships and have a stronger working relationship. I've spoken about this. Just events coming up. This research symposium, the results of the research for Pacific Games will be, we are targeting the end of this year. There'll be a communication around that so that all stakeholders from government to NGOs, the private sector, civil society and sporting bodies will be able to share some of those findings and what does it mean for Samoa in terms of the Polynesian Games 2027 and bringing more international events, let alone sports, to Samoa. And I gues in closing and sharing, as you asked me to prepare 2 months ago, well, 1,000 stories, yes. We've heard some maybe different stories from the lenses of how our leader responds to media. I feel for that, and I know we have a unique custom. The first point of education is in the home, and that's strongly transmitted from our leaders through Parliament. And I guess my feeling as a father and as a leader, if that is the message coming from our leaders, and I guess if we walk it, if we speak it in the homes and outside homes, then we are a living proof of what we are preaching. Yeah, if I may, wharupenga o nisi o tamaswafo o tātua nuvu mai o moto sulwhainga. I le whionga ia te whai ono, whapea fo se tasi o swafa whasino na lai tū, le tū I sisi fo whionga ia sau petalai, me le mo le tuelenga whaftai, le whionga mai anga mo le whasoa nefia, it's been a big lesson for me too, from the sporting perspective, and also whionga le officili. Knowing that you're creating that partnership and the inclusion of our media to build your policies in But in terms of that sharing, that's basically last year's leader meeting in Nauru, trying to articulate in front of all the leaders. Private sector was there as well, I think Malu was there, Duloma. What are the priorities as far as sports is concerned? Well, the priority is SPAPE, and I'll be handing out this summary of what I've just said tonight. Sports, physical activity, and physical education. Physical literacy for our people. And I think some of the priorities that we are hearing in terms of NCDs, in terms of the health of our people, if we have the long-term investment and agreement to address it through education at early childhood, in 15, 20 years, I'm a strong believer we'll be able to meet some of those desired priorities for Samoa. Yeah, 11 million if I don't know,